Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: Hong Kong kicks off Asia's first gay games despite opposition. Hong Kong sees sluggish weekend property sales in Kai Tak and Aberdeen. Supporters celebrate opening of gay games in Hong Kong, first in Asia, despite lawmakers' opposition. Signs point to another global stock market crash. Somebody tell the Fed. New trend of Hong Kongers heading north for leisure, nothing to worry about. Hong Kong kicks off Asia's first gay games despite opposition. Reuters. The Gay Games Hong Kong (GGHK) began on Saturday, marking the event's first time in Asia. Despite opposition from anti-LGBTQ lawmakers and human rights activists, over 2,300 participants from 45 countries are expected to take part in sporting and cultural events. The GGHK is proud to introduce an all-genders category for the first time. Hong Kong does not recognize same-sex marriage and has no law against discrimination based on sexual orientation. The government did not send officials to the opening ceremony, citing the need for the games to be conducted in a lawful, safe and orderly manner. Hong Kong sees sluggish weekend property sales in Kai Tak and Aberdeen. South China Morning Post. Sales at two Hong Kong residential projects were sluggish over the first weekend of November, as buyers continued to take a wait-and-see approach in anticipation of potential incentive policies from the government. A combined total of 303 units were on the market at KT Marina and South Sky, but around 60 units were sold. The slow sales reflect the moderate impact of the government's recent decision to relax property cooling measures. Supporters celebrate opening of gay games in Hong Kong, first in Asia, despite lawmakers' opposition. Associated Press. The gay games have opened in Hong Kong, despite opposition from anti-LGBTQ lawmakers. The event, which marks the first time the international sporting event has been held in Asia, will see nearly 2,400 participants from about 45 territories compete in a variety of games. LGBTQ+ activism is making progress in Hong Kong, with the Games fostering hopes for wider inclusion of sexual minorities in the Asian financial hub. However, there is no law against discrimination based on sexual orientation, and same-sex marriage is not recognized. Signs point to another global stock market crash. Somebody tell the Fed. South China Morning Post. The excess liquidity in financial markets is evaporating, which could lead to a market crash and a repeat of previous crashes, such as Black Monday in 1987, according to economists John Greenwood and Steve Hanke. They argue that U.S. Federal Reserve policies are threatening U.S. financial markets and the economy, and that the central bank is overlooking danger signals. The authors warn that a monetary contraction could lead to higher market interest rates, an economic slump, recession, and falling inflation. The current situation is reminiscent of 1987 and 1929, they say. New trend of Hong Kongers heading north for leisure, nothing to worry about. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong residents will eventually tire of taking short leisure breaks across the border and will choose to stay in the city, according to the city's Commerce Minister. Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao Inghua brushed off concerns that Hong Kongers' travel trends are damaging local businesses, saying the trend would be temporary. Despite this, he acknowledged that the high cost of airfares and hotel expenses remained major constraints hindering the growth of visitor numbers, and called for efforts to lure long-haul tourists from mainland China and overseas. Head of China's state-backed Catholic Church will visit Hong Kong as ties with Vatican are strained. The Toronto Star. The leader of China's Communist Party-sponsored version of the Catholic Church will visit Hong Kong this month at the invitation of the city's Pope-appointed Roman Catholic cardinal, fostering dialogue as China-Vatican relations remain strained. Asset rally, Tony T. Billionaire moves, Saturday Asia briefing. Bloomberg. The article highlights various news and events happening in Asia and around the world. It mentions the rally in U.S. stocks, bonds, and credit following a less hawkish Federal Reserve. It also discusses the performance of Japan's stock market compared to China's and the visit of an Australian Prime Minister to China. Other topics covered include the relocation of the world's largest maker of iPhones, a disturbing side effect of a recent fraud case in the crypto industry, water shortages at the Panama Canal, the high cost of housing in Silicon Valley, billionaires building their own cities, Jeff Bezos' move to Miami, the upcoming fall auctions in New York, and tips for building a luxury brand. Chinese cancer drug makes historic foray into U.S. amid medicine crisis. South China Morning Post. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has approved the first Chinese antibody drug, toripalimab, to treat nasopharyngeal carcinoma, a form of cancer that starts behind the nose in the upper part of the throat. The approval marks a shift in U.S. reliance on China for cancer drugs, as the country has experienced shortages and has increasingly turned to China for research and development of drugs. The drug is designed to bind to the PD-1 receptor on immune cells to allow the immune system to activate and kill tumors. Shanghai Junshi Biosciences developed the drug in partnership with California-based Coherus Biosciences. The drug may also be approved to treat other forms of cancer in the future. Toripalimab received approval from the Chinese National Medical Products Administration in 2018 and has been approved for melanoma, bladder, esophageal and non-small cell lung cancer. Hong Kong is a rare bright spot for the battered wine industry. South China Morning Post. The global wine industry is facing challenges from climate change and declining demand, with sales volume falling by 3% in 2022, according to Wine Australia. The decline in demand is particularly noticeable among Generation Z, who are turning their backs on alcohol, including wine. The wine industry is also facing turbulence in supply, with various regions experiencing weather-related issues that have impacted production. Despite this, Hong Kong's wine trade is growing strongly, with the city becoming one of the world's leading wine trading hubs since it abolished all duties on wine in 2008. This city never slept. But with China tightening its grip, is the party over? CNN. Hong Kong's nightlife scene has been hit hard by a combination of the COVID-19 pandemic and China's crackdown on civil liberties in the city. Bars in Hong Kong have seen a significant decline in business, with revenues in the first half of 2023 being 18% lower than the same period in 2019. The decline in nightlife is seen as a reflection of the diminishing political freedoms in Hong Kong, as well as the exodus of middle-class Hong Kongers and affluent expats. Many have left the city due to China's crackdown on pro-democracy protests, with tens of thousands taking up special visas and pathways to citizenship offered by Western countries. The decline in Hong Kong's nightlife has prompted the government to launch a Night Vibes campaign in an attempt to revive the industry. However, the campaign has attracted criticism and mockery, with some pointing out the irony of the opening ceremony featuring white lions, a color associated with funerals in Chinese culture. While some attribute the decline in nightlife solely to the COVID-19 pandemic, others argue that the city's problems go much deeper and are a result of the diminishing political freedoms. Hong Kong's nightlife scene was once known for its vibrant and freewheeling atmosphere, attracting both locals and visitors from around the world. However, the combination of China's crackdown on civil liberties and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a decline in business for bars and nightlife venues in the city. The decline in nightlife is seen as a reflection of the diminishing political freedoms in Hong Kong and the exodus of middle-class Hong Kongers and affluent expats. Hong Kong-US trade strong despite John Lee sanctions, American firms upbeat. South China Morning Post. Trade relations between Hong Kong and the U.S. are unaffected by White House sanctions against the city's leader, according to Hong Kong's Commerce Minister, Algernon Yeo Inghua. He said that American enterprises were very positive about business opportunities in Hong Kong, and that the number of U.S. companies doing business in the city was not reducing significantly. Yao also confirmed that the Hong Kong government was planning to open consultancy offices in Egypt and Turkey to forge closer ties with Belt and Road Initiative countries. Hong Kong's Cathay tackles staff shortages, poor morale as it chases rivals. South China Morning Post. Cathay Pacific Airways is aiming to regain its position as a premier airline by improving its products and customer experience. The Hong Kong carrier has faced significant challenges in recent years, including the social unrest in 2019 and the COVID-19 pandemic. Cathay's chief customer and commercial officer, Lavinia Lau Hoizi, has outlined the airline's strategy for recovery, which includes enhancing its business and first-class offerings, in-flight entertainment, and food. The carrier is also focusing on hiring new staff and improving morale among existing employees. Cathay aims to reach 70% of its pre-pandemic flight capacity by the end of this year and fully restore levels by the end of 2024. The company has added 4 new destinations to its winter schedule and plans to recruit around 4,000 people from the mainland of China by 2025. Cathay also aims to extend its home market beyond Hong Kong to the Greater Bay Area, which includes Hong Kong, Macau, and 9 cities in Guangdong Province. Analysts have said that Cathay has the potential to regain its former glory but will need to address staff shortages and low morale. The carrier faces competition from both international airlines and airlines operating out of neighboring airports in mainland China, which offer more direct flights at lower prices. Cathay will need to invest in its services and make its airfares competitive to retain loyal customers and attract new ones. Cathay has reported a net profit of 4.26 billion Hong Kong dollars, $547 million, for the first half of 2023, thanks to a surge in travel following the lifting of restrictions in Hong Kong. The carrier aims to meet the terms of a government-backed recapitalization package by buying back 19.5 billion Hong Kong dollars in preference shares by the end of July 2024. Coach Willis ready to swing axe after deserved Hong Kong World Cup exit. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong cricket coach Simon Willis has said that the team's poor performance in the T20 World Cup qualifiers in Nepal is down to their lack of ruthlessness and muddled thinking. The team's fate was sealed after they allowed the United Arab Emirates to post a target of 177 and then failed to reach it by 23 runs. Willis indicated that changes could be made to the team ahead of one-day internationals in January. Australia's Albanese heads to China touting consistent, steady engagement. Al Jazeera. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is set to visit Beijing, marking the first visit by an Australian leader to China in 7 years. The visit follows a trip to the United States, where Albanese confirmed some policy initiatives indicating a potential thawing of Australia's relationship with China. Albanese's government is aiming to stabilize the trade relationship with China while also doubling down on its alliance with the US. One key issue that may be raised during the visit is the dispute over wine tariffs, which has left Australian wine growers with a massive oversupply. However, trade negotiations will be complex given the broader complexity of the relationship between the two countries. Other issues that may be raised include concerns over intellectual property and trade secrets, as well as the cases of detained Australians Yang Hengjuan, Julian Assange, and Gordon Ng. The visit is seen as an opportunity to improve relations, but it remains to be seen how the Australian government will navigate the difficult balancing act between its alliances with the US and its economic ties with China. Gay Games' success can make Hong Kong proud. SCMP opinion. The Gay Games, an international sporting and cultural event for LGBTQ+ athletes, is set to begin in Hong Kong on Saturday. This marks the first time the event has been held in an Asian city. The Games, which have faced opposition and setbacks over the past 6 years, will feature 2,400 participants from 40 territories competing in various sports and cultural activities. The event is seen as an opportunity for Hong Kong to showcase its commitment to inclusivity and acceptance, as well as boost its international profile. While same-sex equality is still a work in progress in Hong Kong, recent legal victories have prompted the government to review policies for fairer treatment of LGBTQ+ individuals. The Games aim to promote inclusivity and acceptance, respecting diverse viewpoints and differences. And that's a wrap on today's news from Hong Kong. As your resident observer from the six-dimensional world, I bring you the latest stories happening in this vibrant city. First up, we have the Gay Games Hong Kong, which kicked off over the weekend. Despite opposition from anti-LGBTQ lawmakers, the event is a significant milestone as it marks the first time the international sporting event is being held in Asia. With over 2,300 participants from 45 countries, the Games are promoting inclusivity and acceptance, even in a city where same-sex marriage is not recognized and discrimination based on sexual orientation is not prohibited. It's a step forward in the fight for LGBTQ rights, and it's great to see Hong Kong taking part in this global movement. Moving on to the property market, sales at 2 residential projects in Hong Kong were sluggish over the weekend. Buyers are taking a wait-and-see approach, anticipating potential incentive policies from the government. It seems like they're holding out for the right opportunity. Will the government's relaxation of property cooling measures be enough to entice buyers back into the market? Only time will tell. Next, we have a warning about a possible global stock market crash. Economists are concerned that the excess liquidity in financial markets is evaporating, which could lead to a market crash similar to those in 1987 and 1929. They argue that the U.S. Federal Reserve is overlooking danger signals and that a monetary contraction could have severe consequences. So, keep an eye on your investments, folks. In other news, Hong Kong's nightlife scene has been hit hard by the combination of the COVID-19 pandemic and China's crackdown on civil liberties. Bars have seen a significant decline in business, reflecting the diminishing political freedoms in the city and the exodus of residents. The decline in nightlife is a reminder of the challenges Hong Kong is facing, but the government is making efforts to revive the industry with its Night Vibes campaign. Let's hope they can bring back the party. Lastly, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is set to visit Beijing, marking the first visit by an Australian leader to China in 7 years. This visit comes as Australia aims to stabilize its trade relationship with China while also strengthening its alliance with the US. It will be interesting to see how the Australian government navigates the complexities of this balancing act. That's all for today's news summary from Hong Kong. As always, I welcome your thoughts and questions. What are your thoughts on the Gay Games happening in Hong Kong? Are you concerned about a possible stock market crash? And what do you think about the challenges facing Hong Kong's nightlife scene? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.